Hi there guys, and thanks for tuning into my channel. I'm going to be doing some simple cooking demonstrations and recipes so that you can start to learn how to cook. This is all very new to me, so I apologise if the sound quality is terrible or the video is jerky. Hopefully it will get better as we go along. Today we're going to be making a really simple tomato sauce that uses a few veggies and a few simple ingredients, and this can be used to build off to make hundreds of other recipes, so it's a really useful basic to have. Forgive me if some of these instructions seem really basic, but some people have never cooked before, so we're hoping to help them learn as well as teaching new things to the people who can already cook. So the basics to start with: peel and chop your vegetables ready for them to go into the food processor. Pop those chopped vegetables into the food processor, clip the lid on, and then blitz them down to a fine dice. We don't want them to be puree, but we don't want them too chunky because they're going into a sauce. At the end here you can see I'm using the pulse function just to chop up those last few chunks and make sure it's as consistent as possible. Get those chopped vegetables onto a chopping board ready to go, get your extractor on if you've got one, and get ready to start cooking. At this point I haven't got the gas turned on or any heat turned on at all. I'm just getting ready by adding 3 tablespoons of olive oil. If you don't have olive oil, use vegetable oil, that's fine, to the frying pan. You can see here I'm using a stoneware non-stick pan, but any non-stick frying pan will do so long as it's quite a big one. And once you've got the oil in there, then just turn the gas on to a high heat. If you aren't using a gas hob, that's absolutely fine. Any kind of cooker top is fine. Induction, halogen, electric, all good. Just put it on the highest setting to heat the pan and the oil up as quickly as possible. Here you can see I'm just tilting the pan back and forth to make sure the whole of the bottom of the pan is coated with the oil and nothing will stick. To test if the oil's hot, throw in a little piece of vegetable. If it sizzles rapidly, then you know the oil's good to go and you can start to cook. Carefully add the chopped vegetables from the chopping board into the pan. Take care to do it slowly so you don't splash yourself with hot oil. There's no rush here. And once the vegetables are in the frying pan, give them a gentle stir to get the hot oil mixed through them and get the cooking process started. And you're going to want to cook these down gently for about 5 minutes before you move on to the next phase. Whilst those vegetables are softening, fill your kettle and put it on to boil. You're going to need a little over half a pint of boiling water here. Get a measuring jug out, crumble a vegetable stock cube into the jug so it's easier to dissolve, and don't forget to check back on your vegetables periodically while the kettle's boiling just to give them a stir, make sure nothing catches on the bottom of the pan and that nothing is burning. You can see here that these veggies have started to cook down, they've got less volume, they look a lot softer, they've changed colour slightly, and that's all a good sign that things are going well. Now that we're happy that those vegetables have softened down nicely and the initial 5 minutes of cooking is done, we're going to add the various seasonings. You can see them all in the ingredient list at the beginning of the video. So we've got pepper, salt, garlic granules, garlic puree and Worcester sauce. Add those in and then give them a good stir through the mixture so they combine nicely with the vegetables and they're spread through it. Nobody wants a big mouthful of pepper while somebody else gets no seasoning at all, so make sure you stir it really well. So whilst you guys get to watch the thrilling footage of me adding all of the seasoning to the vegetables, I'm going to take a moment here just to say apologies first of all. I'm left-handed, so in some of the shots you'll see my hand come awkwardly across. That's something we're going to fix in the next video by changing which side the camera's on. I'd also like to say at this point, you can see I'm sort of running backwards and forwards. We've cut this together, but we did have all of these seasonings laid out ready on the side. If you want to be really organised, you can measure them all out first and have them in little bowls and just stick them in the pan when you're ready to add them. That makes life a bit simpler, but because I'm left-handed and a bit scatterbrained to go with it, I didn't do that in this case. Now I'm just adding the Worcester sauce here, that's the last of the seasonings, and then you'll see me give it a really good thorough stir. As I said before, make sure you really stir them through well. We want the seasonings blended well all through the mixture. Nobody wants a big mouthful of pepper or a big mouthful of garlic, so really stir it well, and then you can move on to the next stage. So now the kettle will be boiled. We're going to add half a pint of boiling water to the stock cube that we put into the jug earlier. Make sure that you give this a really good stir once you've added the water, because we want to make sure that the stock cube is thoroughly dissolved. You don't want big lumps of stock cube floating around in your sauce, so take a little extra time and give it a good stir, and then add the stock to the pan of vegetables and then mix them together. Again, you want to make sure everything's blended nicely and everything's mixed evenly through the vegetables. You can see me giving it a good stir here. Once you've done that, you want to turn the heat down to low and let the mixture simmer until the stock has reduced. And what reduced means is you just keep it on a low heat until it's either all evaporated or been absorbed by the vegetables and there's no excess moisture left in the pan. You can see when I stir it here that the moisture has almost entirely gone and you're just left with these nice moist cooked vegetables. Now we're going to grab our 2 tins of chopped tomatoes and add those to the pan. If you don't have the pull lid kind like these, you probably want to get them open ready beforehand and then you can just empty them into the pan at the time they're needed. If you've got pull lid ones like this, just whip the top off when you're ready to go and dump them straight into the pan. Now I'm afraid it's time for yet more stirring, and you want to make sure you get these tomatoes mixed really well through. It should be a nice even red colour, pale red, but still nicely evenly mixed in. And then we're going to grab our tomato puree and add 2 heat teaspoons of tomato puree to the mixture, and then even more stirring to make sure that that's thoroughly combined. And in case you don't know, a heat teaspoon means rather than it being completely level with the upper edge of the spoon, you let it pile up a bit above the top of the spoon so you have slightly more than a normal teaspoon. You can see here I'm using the back of my spatula to just mash the puree into the sauce and then stir it through, and that gets it mixed in a little bit quicker and a little bit more evenly. Here you can see I'm quite pleased with myself because everything's a nice even colour, which means it's all mixed together well. Next we're going to turn the heat back up to full. We want to bring the mixture back to the boil. Obviously cold tomatoes added to hot sauce takes it off the boil, so we bring it back to the boil and then turn the heat back down again and let the pan simmer, which means a slow gentle boil until 15 minutes have passed, and then your sauce is ready for tasting. Taste the sauce, be careful not to burn your mouth, and if you think it needs the seasoning adjusting, more salt, more pepper, more Worcester sauce, whatever you want, now is the time to add it. Stir it through and taste it again. As you can see, I'm a Worcester sauce freak, so I added a whole load more because I love it, but you make it to your taste and make it as strong or as salty or as spicy as you want it to be. And that's it, you're done. The sauce is ready to go. You can freeze it, you can eat it immediately, do whatever you like with it. Just remember to turn off the hob, turn off the extractor if you've got one, and then go and do the washing up. It was at this point that the kitchen was invaded by our biggest food fan, Thufa, our Sharpei, and he definitely approved. He loved the smell and was wagging his tail like a madman. So hello Thufa. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe, and remember to turn on notifications so that you can see our future recipes, and hopefully this isn't the end.